Think of your life as a well buried under old stones, a silent well, untouched for years, its waters calmly waiting. Those who pass over it every day never realize that there is such a cool, deep spring beneath their feet. But at the worst moment of drought, when one longs for a drop of water at home, that well becomes everyone's hope. Such is your journey, chosen one. Gathering strength in silence, you have hidden a depth that no one can see while the bustle of life swirls above you. Your well was not inaccessible because it was too deep. Write 66 in the comments. Now don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a giant family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications and join us. Because the world didn't know when it needed water. Imagine your life as a lantern in the attic, quiet, dusted by years, not always noticed but always ready to shine when the darkness settles in. Some folks pass by, never giving it a second glance, not realizing that just beneath that ordinary glass, a light waits that could chase away every shadow in the house. That's how you've lived, chosen one. You've been the overlooked lantern, hanging in spaces where folks preferred not to look up, where your light, just waiting, made some folks uncomfortable. Not because you ever shone too bright, but because you revealed the places they left unlit. See, in this journey, it wasn't that you were hard to understand. It's that your very presence was a gentle truth-teller, bringing out what others tried so hard to keep tucked away. You walked into gatherings with a quiet peace, and suddenly people found themselves fidgeting with their words, glancing down, sensing something different in the air. They didn't always know what to make of it, so they filled in the blanks with stories they wrote from their own wounds. You didn't need to speak loudly, just being there made a difference, like a lamp that reveals dust in a room even when it's not trying. Now let's talk plain. There were times folks would look right at you and miss the best of you, seeing only what fit their unfinished stories. You'd share a kind word, and they'd twist it in their minds, wondering if there was something else behind it. You'd show up faithfully, and they'd imagine motives that weren't yours. All the while, you were just living quietly as God made you to be, steady, carrying a light you never asked for but couldn't hide even if you tried. But let me tell you, being misunderstood isn't a punishment, it's a signpost. It means you're carrying something the world's not used to. It means your steps are set apart, your path is marked, and your value isn't up for debate in the eyes of heaven. While others sat and scribbled in the margins of your story, the author of all stories was writing a chapter that can't be erased. Your character, chosen one, is not defined by rumor or opinion, but by the quiet consistency of your walk. Remember those moments when you walked into a room and the air shifted, but instead of applause you felt a chill? That wasn't your fault. You didn't make folks uncomfortable out of arrogance or pride. It was the spirit you carried, a calm that unsettled the unrest in others. Some people, when faced with a peaceful soul, mistake it for passiveness. They project their own noise onto your quiet. But you know better. You know that restraint is a kind of strength, that not every battle is worth fighting, and that sometimes the loudest statement you can make is to hold your peace. Maybe you've noticed, those who didn't understand you were quick to draw conclusions. They'd take your silence for guilt, your patience for weakness, your boundaries for rejection. You watched as they built entire stories on foundations that were never real. It hurt, didn't it? To see your intentions so misread, to feel the weight of suspicion for things you never did, to be cast in a play you never auditioned for. But hear me, the light inside you was never meant for their comfort. It was meant to guide you through shadows, to remind you that some treasures are buried deep. Not everyone will value what's hidden in plain sight. Sometimes, God lets you walk unnoticed so you can learn the difference between those who love the light and those who only chase after the glow. There's a blessing in being overlooked, in walking the long hallway of misunderstanding. Because it's there that you discover your worth isn't in other people's approval. It's there, in the lonely spaces, that you learn to trust the one who sees it all. It's in those attic moments, with no spotlight but heaven's gaze, that your faith is forged, your patience deepens, your roots grow down into good soil. Chosen one, you've been shaped by silence, strengthened by seasons where affirmation was hard to find. But while the world was busy making up its mind about you, heaven already knew your value. Each step you took in faith, each time you chose not to argue, not to explain, not to trade your peace for validation, those were seeds sown in fields the world couldn't see. And let me promise you, there's a harvest coming for every tear, every sigh, every prayer whispered in the quiet. Don't let their confusion define your clarity. You are not a mystery to the one who made you. While others tried to paint you in their favorite colors, God set you apart in His own, colors of purpose, mercy, and enduring hope. They thought your quiet was emptiness, but really, it was fullness, full of things too precious to display for casual glances. You know, sometimes the best treasures are kept in jars of clay. Ordinary on the outside, priceless within. That's you, chosen one. And you don't have to prove it to anybody. Your worth isn't up for public vote. Let me encourage you. Every time you were misunderstood, heaven understood. Every time your motives were questioned, God knew your heart. Each time you held your tongue and let the storm pass by, you weren't just protecting your peace, you were honoring your purpose. So if you found yourself sitting in the quiet, wondering if anyone sees the real you, hear this truth: the one who matters most always sees. He sees beyond the layers, beyond the misunderstandings, straight to the light He placed inside you. And when the time is right, He's the one who'll lift the lantern and let your story shine. What you've endured hasn't gone to waste. In fact, every slight, every accusation, every sidelong glance became a brick in the foundation of something only God could build. The rooms you left, the conversations you walked away from, the times you chose stillness over shouting, all of it matters. You were never meant to convince the world. You were meant to walk with a confidence that only comes from knowing who holds your future. People may never fully understand your journey, and that's all right. Your life is not a puzzle for them to solve, but a testimony that patience and faithfulness are never forgotten. Let others write their versions, let them tell their tales. The truth about you isn't hidden, it's just waiting for the right moment to be revealed, not by your striving but by God's timing. You are not the product of public opinion. You are the result of a love that is older than the hills, deeper than any misunderstanding, stronger than suspicion. The force working for you is greater than the noise against you. Keep shining even when you feel unseen. Keep walking even when the road feels lonely. The attic lantern may be overlooked in the daylight, but when the night falls, its light leads the way. So let others misunderstand. Let them tell stories. Let the world misread the signals. You just keep walking in peace, knowing that the only approval you truly need is already yours. God's got you, chosen one. Your value is settled, your story is safe, your light will not be hidden forever. And when that lantern glows, every shadow will fall away, revealing the quiet strength that was there all along. Think of your life as a seed planted deep in rich soil. Above the surface, there may not seem to be much movement. No applause, no spotlight, not even a breeze to rustle your leaves. Yet beneath it all, something mighty is taking root. In those hidden places, a transformation is happening, quietly and powerfully. Just as the most precious trees grow their roots long before the world ever sees their first blossom, so your journey has been unfolding, guided by an invisible hand, preparing for a harvest that cannot be hurried. Now, you are stepping into a season where the results start to speak for themselves. This isn't a reckoning that demands explanations, debates, or grand gestures. Instead, it's like the first warmth of morning sun gently breaking through a cold night, soft but undeniable. No one needs to announce its arrival. The change is felt, not argued. You don't have to gather witnesses or present your case. The simple, unmistakable evidence of grace follows wherever you walk. Your days are starting to bloom in ways nobody could have predicted, and those blooms are testimony enough. It's not about defending yourself, justifying your choices, or rewriting the stories others have told about you. The evidence is in your peace, in your steady joy, in the quiet confidence that carries you forward even when others still whisper. God's assurance is like a compass in your chest, silent, sure, always pointing you toward home, even when the map is unclear. You walk with a direction that isn't always visible, but it's always real. No committee needs to approve it. Heaven's seal is already on your journey. For a long time, you did the hard work with no audience. You cultivated hope in the winter, watered dreams no one else could see, and believed for a future when the present seemed so small. The world may have overlooked you, but heaven never did. Those seeds of faith, those quiet acts of kindness, those times you pressed forward when everything inside you said to give up, they were seen. Every bit of courage, every sacrifice made in the shadows, every encouraging word whispered to someone who needed it more than they'd ever admit, it's all counted. The garden of your life is about to burst into color, and every unseen effort will find its reward. Maybe you feel that nobody really knows what you carried. The truth is, God does. His eyes have been on you when it seemed like no one else cared. He noticed the encouragement you gave when your own heart felt empty. He counted the times you chose to forgive when you had every right to be bitter. He watched you keep building, keep giving, keep loving even when it seemed to make no difference. That watchful presence has been your companion in every quiet moment, marking every seed you sowed with intention. Now, as the story turns, gratitude flows, not just from those around you, but from heaven itself. There are people who cheered for you in private, who prayed when you felt low, who spoke life over your dreams when discouragement tried to settle in. Maybe their voices weren't the loudest in the crowd, but they were steady, faithful, and true. To every silent supporter, to every heart that lifted you in prayer, to every soul that believed in you, thank you. Your faith, your love, your kindness has made a difference more than you know. For those who labored in the background, your encouragement, your faithfulness, your unseen sacrifices, these are treasures in heaven's account. You may never know how many people you inspired just by showing up, by refusing to quit, by offering a smile when you could have chosen silence. The world celebrates the visible, but God rewards the faithful. This next season of your life is not a repayment for your pain, but a recognition of your perseverance. You're not collecting for past debts. You're reaping what was planted in hope, watered by tears, and guarded by trust. There's a sweetness to the blessing that comes after a long night, because you know just how hard won it was. You know the cost. You know the journey. The wind may have blown hard against your door, but your roots held firm. When the voices faded and the world grew quiet, you discovered what it means to be anchored, not in applause or achievement, but in a steady faith that God is for you. Your story is proof that you don't need a crowd to validate your worth. The real measure of your life is not how many knew your name, but how many lives were quietly changed because you stayed true. And now, you are walking into days when what was hidden will come into the open. The blessings will speak louder than the battles. The fruit will outweigh the storms. Those who looked past you will look again, not because you demanded attention, but because they can't ignore the way your life radiates peace, purpose, and joy. This journey hasn't always made sense to others, but it has never lost its meaning to God. He saw you when you were overlooked. He celebrated your victories in the quiet. He drew near in the loneliness, teaching you how to find Him in stillness. That's why you are still standing, why your spirit is unbroken. You learned to trust the voice that speaks in the hush, the assurance that lingers when everyone else leaves. What's unfolding now is a quiet testimony. You are a living reminder that hope is never wasted, that faith is always rewarded, that no kind act goes unnoticed by the one who counts the sparrows. When others questioned your direction, you kept moving. When they doubted your purpose, you pressed on. When they forgot your name, heaven wrote it down. The new season you are entering is marked by ease. No striving, no fighting, just a gentle opening of doors you never thought would swing wide. The peace you've carried, the joy you protected, the love you guarded, these become the banners that wave over your life, signs to all that God has been at work behind the scenes. The shift that's happening isn't a thunderclap, it's more like dawn spreading slowly over the hills, unhurried, certain, unstoppable. Each day brings a little more light, a little more warmth, a little more promise. And as you step into that light, you'll see just how much was working in your favor all along. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend the way you took. Let the results speak. Let your peace answer every question. The story God is writing through your life is one that can't be erased or rewritten by anyone else. The evidence will be clear. You walked faithfully, you grew quietly, and now you shine. So rest in this assurance. You are seen, you are valued, you are celebrated in places that matter most. All that you endured, all that you invested, all that you believed for in secret is coming back to you in ways you never imagined. The garden you tended in the shadows is bursting into bloom, and the fragrance will fill the lives of all who come near. Chosen one, your time has come. Walk with your head held high. Let gratitude fill your heart. Let joy be your companion. The story isn't over. The best pages are being written even now, not in the noise, but in the gentle, steady unfolding of a destiny designed just for you. Think of your journey like a river that flows quietly through the fields at dusk. On the surface, it might seem unremarkable, winding through valleys and around stones, but all along, that river has been carving a path, shaping the land, watering seeds nobody else could see. Sometimes the river runs hidden under thick reeds or slips silently through shadows, but its work never stops. Even when the world's eyes are on grander things, mountains, storms, or cities, it is the quiet river that brings life, leaving a legacy wherever it wanders. That's your story, chosen one. Steady, unhurried, doing sacred work that only heaven fully notices. If, as you hear these words, there's a stirring inside you, a gentle nudge, a recognition that this speaks to your life, consider it an invitation. Maybe you want to leave a mark in the comments, maybe a number or a word that means something special to you. You're not just following a routine. You're quietly letting the world know that your path, with all its twists and turns, was not a mistake. Each step has meaning, each season has shaped you, and nothing was wasted. Most people will only skim the surface of this message. Few will wander deep enough to reach the heart of it, because what's happening here isn't just about inspiration, it's about restoration. It's the gentle return of balance, like that river finally filling a dry well or leveling the ground after a long drought. If you're here, still listening, it's not an accident. You are part of the remnant, the faithful few who keep going long after the crowd has moved on. You know what it's like for the world to try and paint over your story with its own colors, to offer labels, to write chapters you never intended, to tell you what your life means. But underneath all that noise, the true rhythm of your life has been playing, unbroken. This message is like a soft light left burning in the window when the house is dark, a sign that someone is still awake, still waiting, still believing in you. When you take a moment to respond, to acknowledge that something deep inside you resonates with this truth, it's like dropping a stone into the river. The ripples might be small, but they matter. That simple act, a comment, a symbol, a number, means you're making peace with your journey. You're letting your soul know, I see what you've carried. I honor where you've been. Maybe you've spent seasons wondering if your steps even mattered, if the silent roads you walked made any difference. I want you to hear as plainly as possible, you have never wandered aimlessly. Every mile has mattered. Every valley, every hill, every detour that made no sense at the time, it was all part of the path that led you here. This isn't just about finding closure for the pain, or neat explanations for the confusion. This is about reclaiming your story from the hands of those who never understood it, and letting your spirit rest in the knowledge that nothing has been lost. Closure, in this season, doesn't arrive with trumpets or applause. It comes gently, like a breeze that cools a weary traveler's brow. You may not always feel the weight lifting, but little by little, the scales begin to even out. The burdens lighten. The questions grow quieter. You begin to sense that, even if no one else saw the nights you stayed up, the times you held your tongue, the days you kept going when your strength was gone, heaven was watching. And heaven keeps perfect record. As you reach the end of this message, know that it's not just a collection of words, it's a living witness to your perseverance. It's a gentle arm around your shoulders, a warm reminder that your presence here is the proof that the journey was not in vain. You survived the misunderstanding. You weathered the storms. You kept going not because it was easy, but because you knew there was a promise waiting on the other side. So when the world tries to revise your past, to tell you what your life was worth, remember, the one who authored your days still holds the pen. Your story cannot be rewritten by anyone but the one who made you. Your value isn't up for debate, and your worth isn't diminished by those who walked away. The truth of your life is coming to light, quietly, steadily, undeniably. Let this be your assurance. The journey you walked mattered, the road you chose was sacred, and the balance is being restored. You are not lost in the crowd. You are not forgotten. Your life is the proof that small things, faithfully done, change everything in time. The world may have tried to rush your healing or skip ahead to the ending, but your spirit knows the difference. You are not here by accident. You have been carried, not just by your own strength, but by a force greater than every disappointment, every loss, every wrong turn. That is why you still have hope. That is why, even in the late hour, your light has not gone out. So leave your sign, chosen one, however simple it may be. Trust that heaven sees it, that your spirit celebrates it, that your journey has always been important. Let the story of your endurance stand as a testimony for others who come after you, so they'll know there is restoration, there is peace, there is balance on the other side of the struggle. You are seen, you are cherished, and you are walking into the fullness of all that's been prepared for you. When the night is long, remember the river, quiet, faithful, always moving forward. Your life, too, is carving a legacy that will outlast every misunderstanding and outshine every shadow. Picture your life as an old oak standing at the edge of a field, roots deep in the unseen earth, branches reaching for the sky. Seasons come and go. Winds whip, storms test, and still, the oak remains. Its strength is never found in how loudly it shouts to the world, but in the quiet resolve that allows it to outlast every storm. The world might rush by, never noticing how the tree quietly shapes the landscape, how its presence calms the air around it, how its roots hold the ground firm for everything nearby. That's you, chosen one. Solid, steady, your influence a quiet force holding more together than anyone knows. All around you, people have their own storms, clouds of judgment, thunder of gossip, winds of unrest. They spin stories, looking for easy explanations for things that run much deeper. But while they're caught up in their own tempests, you stand your ground. You don't get pulled into every squall, because you know not every battle is meant for you. Your life is not a collection of headlines or dramatic reactions. It's the story of someone who stayed rooted, who let their actions speak long after words ran dry. There were times you brought a sense of calm into a room, a peace that stilled the atmosphere. But peace, to the untrained eye, can be mistaken for distance. Some called you aloof because you didn't jump into every argument, because you chose to listen before you spoke, because your spirit knew how to rest when others were always in motion. What they saw as indifference was your discernment. You weren't absent. You were present in a way that made space for others to see themselves. You weren't detached. You were centered, guided by something bigger than the moment. Often, you let small grievances pass by like leaves carried on the breeze, not because you couldn't fight, but because you understood what was truly worth your energy. When conversations turned heated, you let silence be your shield. To some, that restraint looked like weakness. To you, it was wisdom learned in the secret place, wisdom only God could give. You recognized the difference between defending your pride and protecting your peace. How many times did you step back from chaos to keep your heart clear? How many times did you decline the invitation to quarrel, not because you were timid, but because you'd learned the cost of lost focus? In a world that rewards the loudest voice, you chose the quiet path. You watched as others misunderstood your boundaries, labeling you proud or arrogant, never seeing the battles you fought just to keep your spirit whole. And when accusations flew, when people painted pictures of you with brushes dipped in old fears and unresolved hurt, you didn't rush to defend yourself. Your silence became the canvas where their suspicions took shape, but you refused to let their art become your truth. You stood firm. You didn't explain, didn't protest, didn't let yourself get tangled in the weeds of their expectations. There is a strength in refusing to let every false word stick to your soul. There's a power in letting God handle what you could so easily take into your own hands. The world might never fully understand the depth of that strength, but heaven does. Heaven sees every moment you bite your tongue, every prayer you whisper instead of shouting back, every time you walk away when pride tells you to stand and fight. You are stronger than you know, not because of what you say, but because of what you're willing to leave unsaid. Your restraint is a quiet kind of courage. Every time you chose peace over proof, every time you guarded your purpose instead of chasing validation, You were building something unshakable on the inside. The world celebrates the dramatic, the loud, the bold. But there's a different kind of boldness in standing still while others run in circles, in trusting the process when you can't see the outcome, in letting time reveal what words never could. Chosen one, you've learned how to be the shelter in someone else's storm, even when your own clouds hung heavy overhead. You've been the unshakable one, the one who refused to be moved by the shifting opinions of others. You became a safe place, a steady presence, a reminder that not every wave has to be answered with a wave of your own. In your quiet strength, others found a harbor, even when they didn't know it. Maybe you never got the credit for holding things together. Maybe your efforts went unseen, your sacrifices unnoticed. But let me tell you, nothing escapes the notice of the one who planted you where you are. He knows the storms you've stood through, the roots you've driven deep, the shade you've given to weary souls passing by. Your life, in all its quiet faithfulness, is a testimony that doesn't need a spotlight to shine. You are not diminished by misunderstanding. You are not smaller because others couldn't see the size of your heart. If anything, you're stronger for having walked through the valley of suspicion and come out with your peace intact. You are proof that strength doesn't have to shout to be real. It just has to endure. Let the story spin. Let others wrestle with their own shadows. You remain, like the oak at the edge of the field, still growing, still sheltering, still standing. Your roots run deep, and your reward is sure. Heaven has watched it all, and in time, the fruit of your patience will be seen by all. So keep standing. Keep trusting. The storm never lasts, but the tree that endures will see another spring. Your restraint, your decision to absorb rather than react, reflected a depth that rarely drew applause but always carried weight. You never let pettiness claim your crown, nor let the temptation of vindication rob you of peace. Now the story is shifting. Where once there were only rumors, now the reality of your perseverance speaks for itself. Those who tried to draw your image in harsh lines are witnessing a transformation they never anticipated. What was once doubted is now undeniable, not because of debates won, but because of the integrity and resilience that could never be erased. Sometimes, those around you needed a villain more than they needed the truth. Admitting your innocence would have meant facing their own shadows, so they crafted a version of you that was easier to control and criticize. To soothe their own insecurities, they assigned labels and motives that never truly belonged to you. You could have chosen confrontation. You could have laid out every fact. But you understood that the higher path wasn't about winning arguments, it was about staying aligned with a bigger vision. While some drew strength from accusation, you drew yours from silent resolve. When false stories became louder, you leaned further into your purpose, refusing to be distracted by drama. What others mistook as withdrawal was, in reality, a deeper anchoring. You weren't absent, you were being shielded. You weren't cowering, you were being grounded for what was to come. In time, the web of accusations spun around you began to unravel, exposing the source. What was meant to isolate only solidified your foundation. The greatest testing ground came when the lights were low and no one was applauding your efforts. It wasn't the public challenges, but the private ones, that shaped your character. When harsh words echoed behind your back, you didn't return them. When alliances shifted, you chose not to fight for public favor. This choice to withhold retaliation wasn't born of weakness but a quiet knowing that some things are best settled out of sight. True integrity is revealed away from attention, when doing what's right brings no immediate reward. You allowed storms to pass without shouting back, letting patience do the talking. Even when pushed to justify yourself, you stood still. That kind of quiet fortitude created space for something bigger to intervene. Every moment you chose gentleness over outrage, understanding over vengeance, you built a foundation that could not be shaken. When the doors seemed to close, and opportunities slipped away, what felt like rejection was actually a redirection that protected more than just your feelings. Sometimes, unseen hands move circumstances not to punish, but to prepare, to reveal intentions and test loyalties, yours included. Only when the stage was set did real motivations become clear. Some would support you in public and undermine you in secret. Others gave praise as long as it suited them, then disappeared when things shifted. Hidden seasons stripped away those who could not walk with you authentically, and exposed who was present only for what they could gain. Now, as the curtain lifts, the truth has a way of surfacing. Those who misunderstood or minimized you are now faced with the reality of what was always within you. You were never simply another participant in their lives. You were sent for a reason that only now becomes clear. Each overlooked sacrifice, each silent decision to choose calm over chaos, was never forgotten. While the world may have called it surrender, a greater record was kept, one that counted every act of patience and every moment of choosing the higher road. Every unseen kindness became a testimony, every private disappointment a step toward the next chapter. All along, your journey was being documented, not by those who gossiped, but by a deeper wisdom that saw what others missed. Every setback became a step, every insult a catalyst for growth. What looked like defeat was the groundwork for a victory no one could claim credit for. Now, the account is being settled, not through retribution, but through restoration that comes in unexpected ways. What's changing in your world right now can't be traced to simple effort or clever maneuvering. It isn't the result of a well-played strategy or fortunate timing. The changes unfolding are a quiet answer to long-held questions, a response to choices made in faith rather than calculation. New opportunities aren't a result of pleading or persuading, but a gentle unfolding that seems to defy conventional logic. The right doors open at the right time, not because of your striving, but because of the alignment you've maintained, even when misunderstood. The evidence is clear. No amount of networking or self-promotion could have orchestrated these shifts. Instead of chasing recognition, you prioritized meaning. Instead of following crowds, you followed a deeper calling. Recognition is arriving in ways that no apology or admission from others could match. The world is seeing your true story through actions, not accusations, through the ways your presence changes things, not through rumors or defenses. Those who once looked past you are now witnesses to a quiet unveiling. Where others turned away, now the spotlight returns not for attention, but for acknowledgement. There's a quiet dignity in knowing your path wasn't built on others' validation, but on choices made with integrity. Now, what you carry is not just a testimony of overcoming, but of thriving in places where doubt once lived. The confusion is gone, replaced by clarity. The whispers have faded, replaced by undeniable evidence of growth and favor. What once felt like a burden has become the very sign of your preparation. What you held in silence is now what sets you apart. There's no more need to explain, to chase closure, or to revisit old wounds. What was once seen as a liability is now revealed as the mark of someone chosen for more. Step forward, not to prove yourself, but to occupy what was always meant for you. The story isn't about reclaiming lost ground, but about walking into new territory with the confidence of one who knows the journey was never wasted.